What up and welcome to Rama Screen YouTube channel, and here's my review of Peacock's new series, The Paper. Let's rock this. Okay, I'm gonna get right to it. If you are expecting this spin-off to be just as funny as its predecessor, The Office series, then you might want to lower your expectation. Because thanks to Peacock, I've already watched the entire first season of The Paper, and this show is abysmal. I'm sorry for being harsh, but you know me. You always get honesty from me, even if you disagree with my assessment. And I tried, God knows I tried, to just judge this new show solely on its own merit. But that's hard to do because you can't help but to compare it to The Office every single moment. The comparison is inevitable. And here's what I mean by that. One of the many problems with The Paper is that the jokes are too mild, too tame, and too bland. Whereas the Office series, both the English and the American versions, their jokes were kind of brutal. I mean, snowflakes would accuse them of being all kinds of isms, of course, but let's keep it real. Those brutal jokes were hilarious. Whereas this, The Paper, it lacks flavor, it doesn't have a kick to it, and it comes across as cowardice. And having Oscar back for some reason should be an obvious red flag to anyone. I mean, come on. Why would you include him again if you don't have confidence in the new characters, right? He becomes kind of like their buffer now. Well, if you don't find the others funny, at least you'll still find Oscar funny, right? Such a weak, pathetic excuse. I shit you not, it was difficult sitting through these episodes, but I kept watching it anyway, thinking maybe it would get better in the next one. It never did. The jokes felt like it had gone through A/B testing or groupthink, and trying to locate those jokes in the middle of the dreadful dialogues and the monotonous commentaries are like finding needles in a haystack. It's exhausting. Co-created and co-showrun by Greg Daniels and Michael Coman, and executive produced by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, the documentary crew that immortalized Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch in the Emmy Award-winning series The Office find a new subject when they discover a historic Midwestern newspaper and the publisher trying to revive it, starring Donald Gleason. Some people would counter-argue saying, "Oh Rama, give it a chance. Remember the American version of The Office? That show's first season was also rough, but it eventually became good. So give The Paper the same opportunity. I'm sure it will develop its legs somehow." Well, agree to disagree. Because if this first season is the indicator, then those legs are not gonna show up anytime soon. I tell you that much. And look, I like actor Donald Gleason. I'm a big fan. But he's just not the right fit for this type of show. And it's not entirely his fault. His character just doesn't cut it. You see, one of the things that made Steve Carell's character, Michael Scott, so iconic and effective humor-wise is that he was a self-absorbed boss who thought he had it all figured out when he was actually just as clueless as everybody else in the room. But Donald Gleason's Ned Sampson, on the other hand, his only quirk is that he's afraid of being labeled this or that. He's afraid of being perceived negatively. Ooh. And all he does is just correct everybody around him. There's nothing interesting, let alone funny about that. And Donald, being a naturally dramatic actor that he is, him just playing it straight like that the whole time doesn't help his case at all. So it's a combination of the way that the character was written and the way that he is performed, and voila, you get Ned Sampson, a walking, talking, vapid boss. The supporting characters or the employees, aside from Oscar, are also not that memorable. The Italian lady is annoying. Every time she speaks, I want to tell her to shut the hell up. The bantering and the roasting between the characters is also non-existent, which is unfortunate because let's face it, the Jim versus Dwight dynamics was a relatable feature in every workplace. But that is an element that's completely missing in The Paper. And if trying to revive a newspaper company in today's age when newspapers are basically extinct is part of the show's humor, then that effort doesn't land very well either. Because it's never really clear if they're trying to make fun of newspapers or if they're trying to turn newspapers into some kind of a novelty quality. And that indecisiveness also hurts the show. One of the biggest disappointments of this show is that, look, it's the same creative team behind the cameras, right? But for whatever reason, they're not able to recapture the magic. Maybe because we're living in the post-Me Too era, or maybe because mockumentary is such an outdated format. But like I said earlier, it's as if the paper's writer's room is constantly filtering and mean testing the jokes to make sure that they are nowhere close to being perceived as offensive. And that totally backfires. So yeah, overall I give The Paper the rating of 1 out of 5. Sadly, this show will join the ranks of a gazillion spin-offs out there that crash and burn in their first outing.